Welcome everyone to Films with the Women in My Life. My name is Brennan, and joining me tonight is Mama K.
Hey, this is going to be cool.
Yeah, it's going to be cool, and because tonight we are reviewing Coco, the 2017 Pixar film.
Disney movie.
Yeah, finally getting to Disney movies.
I'm wearing my Coco ears. Does that help?
The ear, the ears that they have in Disney World, the different they're the Mickey Mouse ears. The mouse ears. And these are Coco themed ones that Mama K's got on. So,
and I just happened to pick them up at our last trip to Disney World, and I love them. I usually only wear them at Disney, though. I don't wear them around, but I did wear them while I was watching the movie. So
to get in the spirit,
in my house, not at the movie theater. So
I'm sure people wore them there too when it first came out.
Probably not someone like me, but maybe. I'm not, no judging.
There's some interesting people who are Disney fans. So,
thanks.
So yeah, this is our first Pixar film we've done. I don't know. I love Pixar movies. Pretty much all of them I've seen.
I love Pixar movies. Pixar shorts, yes.
Pixar shorts movies are great. Yeah. There's a couple I have not seen all. Like I've missed Cars 3, and Good Dinosaur I have not seen. But I've seen definitely I'd say 3/4 of them.
Yeah.
And say for a few, they're all excellent movies. In my opinion, anyway. It sounds like you agree.
Well, yeah. I mean, you grew up on them. I think your first movie in the theater was Toy Story.
The OG Pixar, yeah.
The OG, even though it was 1990, I'm looking at the date when that was released. I'm like, that was 1995. You would have been a year and a half, maybe 2 if we squeezed into 1996.
I don't know how long movies were in theaters back then. Might have been a little bit longer than today. Well, I know before they used to be in longer. I don't know if the same applies for 95, but.
Well, I think I probably had no business taking you to the movies at 2. So,
I never cried much as a kid, so.
No, you were happy. As long as you had a snack, you were good to go.
So, Coco came out 2 years ago, 2017. I'm going to give a quick plot synopsis for those who don't know. Aspiring musician Miguel, confronted with his family's ancestral ban on music, enters the land of the dead to find his great-great-grandfather, a legendary singer. And that becomes different later on, but to start, yeah, that's what we're going with. So this is directed by what's his name, Lee Unkrich. He is a Pixar alum. He's worked as a producer and story writer on pretty much everything since the original Toy Story and Bug's Life. He was an editor on those, so he's been with Pixar in some capacity since the beginning. He's got co-directing credits on Monsters, Inc. and Finding Nemo and Toy Story 2, but his first solo directing credit was Toy Story 3, and this is his second directing, and as well as he has the story credit. So a Pixar alum taking helm at this, and I think it shows because this has all the Pixar trademarks of being entertaining for pretty much all kid ages, and also having things for adults, adult themes to keep everyone interested.
And a lot of hidden Mickeys and Disney things, etc., to keep the total, person who's a mouseophile really happy too. So
you'll have to point those out when we get to them, because those are the things I don't really notice those things. I'm pretty strictly on the characters in the story. I don't notice the certain movies. I notice the Easter eggs, not in movies like this typically, but
yeah. When
we come across those, you have to talk about those. So.
Yeah, I don't know that they're super prevalent, but there are certain. You're always looking for the hidden Mickey. So
you're always looking for the hidden Mickey.
Okay, by you I mean me.
Yes, I'm sure there are people always looking for the hidden Mickey. So this is before we get into spoilers and talk about our ratings. If you haven't seen it, it's over on Netflix right now. I don't know how much longer because Disney Plus will be coming out soon, and that'll be a whole other thing, but check it out while it's there on Netflix. It's been for the past couple of months. I think definitely worth a watch if you're a Pixar fan. So we rate
even if you're a fan of just storytelling, it's I wasn't expecting. I mean, not that they don't tell good stories. I was just expecting sort of an ethnic version of something that we've already seen, but that's not what it was at all. It was a really good storyline.
I mean, I guess I had high expectations because it's Pixar. They've let me down with, I don't know, Cars. That's about it. Like other than that, Pixar's never really let me down. They're always ahead of the curve. They're the best. They honestly are. They're the best animated studio. They're one of the best studios, period. But so we rate things here at Films with the Women in My Life on 4 criteria, and those are the plot, the characters, the visual and sound, and the overall resonance and feel of the film. So we will start with the plot. Mama K, what did you think of the plot of Coco?
Well, I was just saying that I think it's a really great story. So I think the plot it kept me engaged. It had some twists and turns. I mean, it was enough of a straightforward plot, but boy, was I glad that, Ernesto de la Cruz didn't turn out to be his great-great-grandfather, because he was such a tool. And, but then you get into, there's that he winds up killing his best friend. You're like, wow, this is almost back to dark Disney. You know what I mean? When nobody survives, where it's like, Snow White kind of stuff. And
well, we've already talked about this, you and me, off air. Like, Disney movies, there are rarely, two parents.
Yeah, household. The nuclear family does not exist in Disney.
No, there's always a widow or a widower or an orphan. Yeah. Like there's or raised by grandparents. Like there's always It's never traditional like old school mom and dad, or I guess current day just two parents in general. It's never a 2-parent household.
Right. Unless they're grandparents.
Unless they're grandparents, right? Yeah. It's never your traditional like old school, which is an interesting take here because Coco actually has not just a mother and a father, but he has a huge family, both living and dead.
You mean Miguel?
Sorry, not Coco. Yeah, Miguel. Coco is.
Yeah, I was curious why this was called Coco for a long time, and
I think Coco it makes sense by the end, but
it makes sense. I mean, once you introduced to the character of Coco, but you're sort of like, well, this has got to mean something more. Why is this movie not called Miguel?
Right. So we did you give your rating on the plot? I know sounds like you liked it, but.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I would give it a strong 4.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's also a 4. It's I'm gonna say for the first hour, it's pretty conventional, and I'm a little underwhelmed. Yes. And the last half 45 minutes is incredible. It's so good. The last third of this movie is really, really it's so good. We'll get to that when we get to it. But
yeah, they're setting it up so like smart.
I don't even.
I love that.
And that's Pixar. I don't realize how well they're setting up at the beginning. Cause it just seems kind of mechanical at the beginning until we get to. For me, it's till we get to De La Cruz's mansion. There to the end is all epic, beautiful twists and turns. Everything's great. But we'll start at the first
big twist. Then
the twist. I mean, we'll get to that, but like that was a twist. That was a good one. So we start with Miguel. He's a 12-year-old kid. He lives with his very large family.
And he actually has 2 living parents. So
yeah, that's what
after everything we've said, he does have 2 living parents.
He has the rare 2 living parents, but the parents aren't as involved. The involved character is the grandmother. The grandmother, did they just call her Abuelita? I mean,
Abuelita.
Which is literally the grandmother. So she's like the matriarch of the family. They are shoemakers, but Miguel dreams of being a musician, and Abuelita strictly forbids music. We see in a little montage before the whole movie starts. The great-great-grandmother Imelda was married to a man who left their 3-year-old daughter Coco, which is the titular Coco, who in this movie is a very old woman. Probably.
Oh my God, she's the cutest thing ever, though.
She's like
she's shoe leather. I mean, honestly, it's a good thing they're shoemakers because she is shoe leather. It's amazing.
Yeah, she's got to be 100 or something. Like she's this blocky, tiny old woman who just sits in a rocking chair all day and doesn't say much. It sounds like she has some sort of Alzheimer's or some sort of trouble remembering,
some sort of dementia. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's got some memory issues.
She reminded me of a female Carl from Up.
As far as character design, that's definitely
right. I
what
mean,
you're looking
total.
at.
Just if you're thinking of somebody, think of how blocky he was. That's how blocky Coco is. But in a female form with braids. Oh my God, so cute.
Yeah, she's great. Her look is awesome. Every time they show like a flashback
awesome.
with her is great.
Yeah.
But in the flashback with the great grandmother Imelda, the man she's married to leaves 3-year-old Coco, little girl Coco. So this is like 100 years before, or 90 years, whatever. It's a long time before.
It's the 1920s, so yeah, you can 90 years.
Yeah, right around about 90 years, and so he leaves her. We're in present day now with Miguel. Miguel's in present day with his large family, and he wants to be a musician. And the big musician in town in all of Mexico is Ernesto de la Cruz.
Who's dead?
Who is also dead. He died in a accident that involved a large bell falling on him during a show.
A tragic belfry accident, if there ever was one.
Yeah, he.
I never thought I'd get to say that ever in my life. A tragic belfry accident. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is the opportunity. And so he's like the idol of every musician in town, including Miguel, who there's like statues of him. He's in old movies. He's a big deal. And the day we start on is Dia de la Muerte, Day of the Dead. And
Dia de los Muertos.
Dia de los Muertos. Forgive me if I butcher some Spanish things. I'm not, as versed as I could be.
I was raised on the East Coast.
I'll do what I can. You're California, so you gotta correct me if I'm mistaken. But Miguel. So the whole thing is they have the ofrenda. Am I saying that right? Ofrenda. The little stand with the pictures all rest on.
What that's called. Yeah.
It's called.
Well, that's what they do for Dia de los Muertos. That is how you remember your ancestors, basically. And they have the ofrenda. I think it is the ofrenda.
Yeah.
Where you put their pictures up, and if their pictures are up, then they're remembered. Then you're remembering them, and so they can stay alive in the afterlife, I guess is how it's always been told to me. And then that's sort of how the movie is too, is that you live in the afterlife as long as your memory lives with the living.
And that's another clever, the way Pixar portrays the afterlife and the mechanics of you're remembered by is really clever. I love how it's portrayed. So the way it works is the afterlife is like this big city kind of thing, which looks beautiful, by the way, that you can't
also
really see.
It looks like something straight out of like Star Wars, the prequels, honestly.
Yeah, but like
colorful.
Yeah, but not so plasticky. Like it looks lived in. And
and fun.
And the way that the dead come to see the living, not face to face, but just come to the living world to get the gifts that they receive on their tombstones on Day of the Dead, is they cross this flower bridge.
Right.
And anyone who has their picture put up is allowed to cross over and receive their gifts. And that's how the memory of the people in the afterlife is carried on. So the whole family, and I think we said this already, the whole family does not want Miguel playing music because of the great-great-grandfather who ran away. And since then, they're shoemakers, no music, that's the whole thing. And the grandmother, especially Abuelita, is staunchly opposed to this. So Miguel breaks into the tomb of Ernesto de la Cruz to not steal his guitar, but use his guitar.
To borrow it. Yeah.
Borrow it, right. Because he finds out when he knocks the picture off the ofrenda, oh my God, the ofrenda, that the man whose face is torn off in the picture, the great-grandfather picture, has the guitar of Ernesto de la Cruz. He's like, oh my God, Ernesto de la Cruz is my grandfather, and he was
great-grandfather.
Great-great-grandfather, because he was a musician and he ran away, and that's his guitar in the picture. And he goes into the tomb, and that's the guitar. So he breaks into the tomb to steal the guitar, strums it, and he is immediately transported into the land of the dead, which
the afterlife.
Yeah, so like the people in the living world can't see him. He passes through them, and he immediately runs into several of his family members, also who are up on the ofrenda, and this is how he gets to the afterlife.
Right.
And I love the afterlife, how you get over. It's like a TSA line, arrivals and departures. They scan you. And if your picture, and then it shows like an old-timey black and white photo because your picture's somewhere on the ofrenda, and if you have your picture up, they let you through, and if you don't, then they grab you and take you back. And we see that happen to one of the skeletal relatives trying to get out, and that is Hector. He dresses as Frida Kahlo.
He does.
It does not fool the machines, and they take him back and arrest him. And so now we kind of follow two storylines briefly. It's Miguel with meeting his dead family, including the great-great-grandmother Imelda. And then we see Hector, the vagrant guy, trying to get to his family, but it's not up on the ofrenda, so he's not allowed to cross over.
Right. He's trying to find a way to cross over because he wants to see his daughter.
Yeah. He's trying to get to his daughter. That's what he keeps explaining to the people at the TSA
line
for the dead. Yeah. and the
but
cop.
It's not just TSA. If you'll notice, it also looks a little bit like the entrance to the Magic Kingdom when you're at either Disney World at Magic Kingdom, Disney World, or Disneyland at Disneyland. It looks very like that. So,
yeah, I guess the gate does kind of look like that. I thought of TSA because of the arrival and departure signs. But
right.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it looks kind of like the gates at Disney World or Disneyland.
Right. I was waiting for somebody to swipe their Magic Band, honestly. I was like, when's somebody going to swipe the Magic Band to get through? I think that's how this should happen.
Yeah, no, they have to give them a full scan so they make sure that they're actually up on someone's ofrenda.
Not just a fingerprint. I
guess
guess
they don't have fingerprints. Yeah, they're skeletons.
They're bones. Yeah.
So our principal characters here are Miguel. Hector becomes a character throughout, and then I guess and we meet Ernesto de la Cruz later, and then we also have Mama Imelda. I would say those four get the most screen time. So considering those are our major characters in this, what would you rate the characters in this movie?
I think the characters are, they're solid. They're not anything extra special, I don't think. So I mean, I'd give them a 4 as well. They're designed to do their job, and they do their job really well. So
yeah, I think a 4 is fair. I give them a 4, but on the strength, it's more of a 3 or a 3.5. If it not for, I love Hector a lot. I really love Hector, the character. As we go through, I love him even more. By the end, he's the best. I really, really like Hector. I think Ernesto de la Cruz later on becomes a really interesting villainous character. Miguel is strong enough to carry the movie as we go. There's nothing annoying about him. There's nothing irritating. That sometimes pratfalls of having a kid lead. You can have that happen, but I don't find him annoying at all. I find him very admirable and realistic as a 12-year-old. And Mama Imelda is... I like her arc by the end of it. So a 4, I think it's fair, but mostly on the strength of Hector. I really like Hector's character.
Yeah, I think Hector has the most, because he kind of, he evolves as you're watching it. You don't really know what to expect. And I think I was expecting something bad from Ernesto de la Cruz from the beginning.
Oh, you were?
I really was. Well, because, you find if you're introduced to somebody that's so revered... maybe it's just the cynical part of me, but I was like, this guy's got to have some sort of dark side. And it turns out that his dark side is the actual dark side. He's not a good person at all. And even in death, he's a terrible person. So
I guess I understood that he was going to be not all he was cracked up to be, but I thought he would be just kind of shallow and vain and not quite as, I mean, he's sinister.
And not a murderer?
He is a bad guy. And Hector, I guess I was expecting him to have a noble turn by the end, but I wasn't, what we get is not what I was expecting. The way they do it is much better than I could have, it's better than I was expecting. I was not expecting the turn that comes. But, so Miguel is turning into a skeleton is the point of his race against the clock. He needs... Right,
he has to be done by the morning after Dia de los Muertos. He has to be back...
in the land of the living.
Out of the world of the dead.
So he wants to so he can leave as long as a family member gives him a blessing, and Mama Imelda is willing to give him that blessing on the condition that he never plays music again because she hates music, but Miguel loves music. It's a pretty simple plot device that I buy because I don't know, it makes sense. Both characters, despite their, even Mama Milla's small screen time, I understand where she comes from, and it makes sense to me. And I understand Miguel's, his whole thing is to play music. So he's like, I will not go back because you said not to play music. Well, he tries, but then as soon as he strums a guitar in real life, he gets sent right back.
Right.
So he has to get the approval of someone in his family who will allow him to play music. And since all the other ancestors are afraid of great-great-grandmother Imelda, he has to find Ernesto de la Cruz, who he believes is his great-great-grandfather.
Right.
So
he's figuring since he's a big music guy, he won't put that caveat on his blessing and just send him right back.
Right. He's the only one in the family who understands music and appreciates it like him. So that's now his quest, is to find Ernesto de la Cruz so he can get his blessing to get sent back with music. And this is crossed with Hector, whose goal is to have his picture put up on his daughter's ofrenda so that he may be remembered in the real world and not fade to, I guess, second death. We learn that pretty quickly. Hector and Miguel, because they are kind of forced to work together because of their two intersecting goals.
Right.
And Hector takes him on a couple different contacts. First to the real Frida, who is like running a show for Ernesto.
Oh my gosh, she's amazing.
She has like the play where it's like the fruit. They crawl out of a fruit, and then they pray to like a god who's also her, and then we need fire. Like it's
I mean, that is like, if you know anything about Frida Kahlo, that is so Frida Kahlo. Like that's exactly what life is. So weird in her eyes that when in the movie, when this character that's like Frida Kahlo is doing this stuff, you're just like, yes, this is exactly what I expect from you. Just really out there thoughts and color and craziness, and that's what she was all about. Also her unibrow, which is
the iconic unibrow, which
predominantly featured.
I mean, that's all I know from her. I don't know her real life at all. So when I saw the unibrow, I mean, that was like, all right, I get it. It's Frida. Like that's all. Like that's all I needed. So that's one of his contacts. But Ernesto's not at the rehearsal for the show because he doesn't do that because he's
doesn't do rehearsals, doesn't need to. He's too cool for that.
So he has to take him to his second contact to get a instrument so that they can play in the talent show to get a ticket to Ernesto's big party. Just like in the real world, how Miguel wanted to play in the talent show in the real world. Now there's a Day of the Dead talent show in the afterlife.
Right.
Which, in an ordinary movie, I would be like, it's the talent show. He has to win the talent show to go see the thing, like, blah. But because it's parallel between the two worlds, I like it a little bit more. It's just, it's a basic plot point that has an extra little twist to make it not so bland.
It's not just forced in there. It's actually part of the other part of the movie. So you're like, okay, I totally buy that this is happening.
Yeah, it's not forced. It feels like a real logical next step. So to get the instrument, Hector takes Miguel to this, like, it reminded me of the Blue Bayou in Pirates of the Caribbean. It's like this swampy area for all of the people who are slowly being forgotten. Their names are not put up on ofrendas every year, and the family members who remember them are getting older and dying off. And when the last person who and I've had this theory forever. I've always talked about the 2 days you die. The second day you die is the last person who remembers you alive dies, and that's kind of what happens here. The last person who remembers you, as soon as they die, you die. Like you're not even in the land of the dead anymore. You kind of fade into non-existence.
I think that's everybody's great fear with death. I mean, there's death itself, but then there's also you want to make your mark in life because you want to be remembered. So is it really, part of that's like, is it really a fear of death, or is it just a fear of being forgotten and not having, had some sort of impact, either on your family or on society? I mean, we got to talk about family a little bit, because the word family and the meaning of family plays a big part in this movie, because there's the family, your flesh and blood family, also bones and not blood,
Bones
family, and
eyeballs.
then that sometimes drop into your mouth, which was really gross. But then there's also people talk about when, you're an entertainer and you have this family and these, you count all of your fans as your family. And that's really where Ernesto lived. But we know, and I think that we kind of know in our hearts too, that's never a real family. That's just something that people have in common, and they might have connections amongst themselves, but there's really no real connection to the person that you're, idolizing, even though they're like, you're like my family. So there is that that's happening in the movie at the same time, and family's supposed to support one another, yet they're not going to support Miguel because they have this, 3-generation issue with music.
I think it's more. It's like 4 or 5 generations, really. I mean, I guess Grandma Coco likes music, but everyone else.
Yeah, Grandma Coco does, but and they treat her so well. I mean, it's not like they're like, "Oh, you're crazy, Grandma Coco," or whatever. They're just,
No, she's revered, but she's also no longer in charge because of her faded memory and
right.
So, so I think family, like the family and like existing beyond your death and not being forgotten is definitely a big thing here. Like because the fear of dying is alleviated in this movie because you die, you go to the second life basically. But then if you don't have some sort of legacy, and if you don't have a family that will remember you, that is what ends you. That's what happens to one of Hector's friends, who he takes the guitar from. He fades away because we see him fade away because his family is gone. The last people who remember him are gone. So it creates a very real threat for Hector if he doesn't get his picture out there in the real world to the ofrenda, and if his story isn't told, he's done very shortly.
Right. And he feels in his life, I mean, we see him start to fade at certain points, and so we know that whoever is this last member, his daughter, is fading in her life and her real life, and so that we know that this is a real time sensitive situation. For him.
It's a clever way they create a sense of urgency for both for both of them, so that they have to work together as much as they can. But it leads us to the talent show, where we get a bunch of little clips of all the people basically singing different Ernesto de la Cruz songs, because he's like the be all end all in this afterlife. And he gives an awesome performance, and we see see it back in the bayou. Hector can play guitar too, and he's a decent musician himself. And he accompanies Miguel while they're playing, but the whole time they're being stalked by, and we haven't talked about it yet, the giant cat creature that is controlled by Mama Imelda. It's like their afterlife spirit guides. I don't really know what they're called. I don't remember what they're called, but
I think that's perfectly accurate. That's what they are.
It covers what it is. It's Mama Imelda's giant spirit guide is a large cat with like eagle wings, and it is hunting down. Of course it is. What?
Of course it is. Yeah. Why wouldn't it be a giant cat with eagle wings?
Yeah, that's perfectly acceptable. It's hunting down. Miguel, who has to also disguise himself as a skeleton, because every time people see him as a real person, they freak out. They're like, "Oh, living boy!" And then it's on blast that this family is looking for the living boy.
Right.
So they actually get into a confrontation here, because Miguel and Hector, after they don't quite win the presentation, you hear on the announcement that they're looking for a kid named Miguel, and that his family's looking for him. And Hector is under the impression that he doesn't have any family. That's why he needs to find Ernesto de la Cruz to send him back. But as soon as he finds out, he feels lied to, and he's like, "You could have gone back already and put my picture up and saved my life, and you didn't do it." And then Miguel saying to Hector, "Well, you weren't entirely honest either with your, he's been a trickster. Hector's been a trickster this whole time about knowing De La Cruz," and so they both kind of have a little falling out there, and they split up temporarily. Miguel goes to try to get into De La Cruz's party. The band that wins lets him in because they're so impressed by him, and we get to De La Cruz's mansion, and it's fucking sweet. It is awesome looking.
In the afterlife.
His afterlife
Pretty
mansion
cool.
is crazy awesome. Oh my god!
Yeah.
And let's talk about the visual and sound of this movie. What would you give it? Because it's got lots of great music.
Yeah. It's a 5. I mean,
yes,
I was stunned by everything. The score, I mean, it had me from the beginning. First of all, it starts off, Disney movie starts off with the castle and na 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 na. Well, not this one. And Pixar's done this a couple times, I think. At least I can think of.
They've been doing it more
previously.
now.
There might be more.
More modern movies have been incorporating the castle in different ways.
It does, but it was just like, okay, we're already starting. Like, this is happening right now. And then it starts off, the very beginning of the movie starts off with the papers, the papel picado, it's like, what do you call it? Banners, banners that you might have a banner at your birthday party, but these are Mexican banners and they're made of paper and they're all hand cut. And that's where it starts to tell the story from the beginning. And that just grabbed me right from the get-go.
Yeah,
I was like literally in the Three Caballeros ride at Disney World. Like, yes, I'm already in. What else
you're talking about the one in Epcot? The one that like is...
Yeah. In Mexico.
Yeah.
In Mexico and Epcot.
Mexico Epcot, yeah.
Yeah. And no one rides this ride because it's a slow ride. It's like a very miniature version of Small World. It's not, 19 minutes long, which is good.
It's chill.
Plus it has great music. Yeah, and we ride it every time we go because it's just that charming. So, and that's part of that. And so when that comes up and I was in and it was so colorful and everything is vivid. And like when they go to the city of the dead and like you were saying, how it's sort of built out of, it almost looks like cliffs, but it's space, and it's just amazing. And even that crazy cat griffin thing that you were talking about earlier is the most fantastical colors. The flower that they use, that marigold flower that is gone, it's like seeded throughout the film. That's sort of the pathway to and from the living and the dead is this most, it's a stunning, it's not just a color. It's like, it's vibrant. Everything is so vibrant and alive, even though you're in the city of the dead.
Right.
Everything is really super alive.
It's, the land of the dead looks awesome. It looks so great. Like all of the floating cities, the colors, everything is just vibrant and alive, even though it's dead. That's such a good way to put it. I love it's a 5 for me too. By the way, it's really I can't. You really would have to nitpick to not give this a 5.
I don't know how I can't think of anything that's even remotely close. And Pixar does great stuff with everything.
Oh yeah, they've gotten.
And I can't think of anything that's remotely close.
Yeah, I think of like their earlier work and just how far they've come as far as computer animation, and it's. I mean, this is the mark to beat. It's so good. And the music, the songs are so good. The songs are really well written.
The songs are good.
Not just the main one, Remember Me, which is also awesome, and they do like 4 or 5 different versions, which are all great. But they play a bunch of different ones. The one he plays at the end with his family, the one he plays at the talent show. Like I love the music when they enter his castle. It's like electronic. But it's like electronic mariachi music. It's awesome. And all the way up to this movie, I've been like on board, and it's been like a solid, good movie. And when they enter De La Cruz's palace, it from here to the end is just excellent. It's so incredibly good. Miguel gets everyone's attention by playing one of his songs. He falls into like a pool. De La Cruz saves him. And he's like, I'm your great-great-grandson. He's like, I have a great-great-grandson? Oh. And then we see like a montage of them hanging out. And it looks, they're just like hanging out at like his mansion and doing all kinds of cool stuff.
Well, and the pool was funny because when he fell into the pool, I had already thought, like I said, De La Cruz was kind of a dick. So when he jumped in to save him, I thought, I am wrong. I am so wrong about this dude.
And they're hanging out. He seems like such a good guy for a while, right?
For a little while, he's a good guy. And then all of a sudden, you peel back the layers and we find out that, there's been some really bad spiked tequila in the past. And
meanwhile, all this Hector reprises his Frida disguise, and
again,
and somehow gets past everyone, fine, and gets into De La Cruz's mansion, and the party's closing up. De La Cruz is about to send Miguel home with the little leaf trick, the blessing, and Hector confronts him, and he's like, "You stole all my music," and De La Cruz is kind of admitting that they really were partners, and then. Simultaneously, one of his old movies is playing, and he says one of the lines from the movies by accident. De La Cruz does, and it's it basically reveals in a nice flashback montage that De La Cruz poisoned Hector, and because Hector wanted to leave, but Hector
was trying to get home.
He was trying to go home to see his daughter, and De La Cruz is like, "No, I need your songs," because he's a shit songwriter, and Hector's the good songwriter, but he has the charisma, so he poisons him with tequila, and when he dies in the street, takes his songs, and so Hector dies right there, and that's how he gets to the afterlife, and Ernesto De La Cruz becomes a big star before his death off of the songs of Hector. Didn't see it coming. Did not see the way this all would happen coming.
I didn't either.
Even more what I don't see coming is, I see this coming. De La Cruz is now obviously a bad guy. He throws Miguel and Hector in this pit. And
a cenote.
Hector recalls his life, talks about his daughter he never got to see, Coco, and that's when you realize...
Coco?
He's the great-great-grandfather to Miguel, not De La Cruz.
Not De La Cruz.
And the guitar, the reason he thought it was a guitar is because he stole it from Hector. He stole everything from Hector. It was Hector's music and guitar, and De La Cruz just killed him and took his shit. Pretty crazy. But, that's the second big reveal, and that I also did not see coming. That was a really good way to reveal all that. I thought it was just going to be like... Miguel having to come to terms with the fact that his great-great-grandfather is not who he thought he was, and Hector realizes that, this is his new family, but no, they really are family, and that was such a crazy turn. And I'm crying at parts of here. I'm crying through most of the end of this when Hector is singing the Remember Me song, and you get the flashbacks of little Coco. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Tears are streaming.
Yes.
Tears are coming down.
Everyone's crying.
So,
oh, man. That was so good.
The turn is so good. So now we have to conclude. We have to get out. I don't know if we've mentioned even much the mangy dog that's been following.
You mean Dante?
Dante, the dog that's been.
Yeah. What did you wish that I named you instead of Brennan?
Two names, Desmond and Dante. But
yeah. So. This dog is the craziest dog, and he reminds me of the hyenas in Lion King.
Yeah, Ed the hyena, especially.
Yeah, totally Ed the hyena. Yeah, you're right.
So he turns out to be the one who's been following around this whole time. We don't know why he's been able to also be in the spirit world at the same time as the real world. He turns out to be one of the guardians, just like the big cat sphinx eagle thing. Yeah. So him and the cat
Dante.
sphinx eagle thing rescue them. Hector has to confront, Mama Imelda. They have to kind of reconcile at the beginning and kind of accept each other's, faults and what happened.
Come to an agreement that they need to work together, basically.
Right, to help Miguel get home. Which he can do, except Hector or De La Cruz has stolen the picture of Hector, the one that he needs to put on the ofrenda to save him. So they have to go to De La Cruz's big show, and they have a showdown. Him and the whole family versus Ernesto's bodyguards. I like here also that in the background Frida's show is playing out with the fire and the crawling out of the fruit.
Well, they use that part. They all become Fridas.
Yeah, they all become Fridas praying to a giant Frida. And
I love Frida in this whole movie. This movie could have been called Frida.
It could not have. I'll give you she's a good side character, but she's got 5 minutes of screen time.
I know, but I think that it's just, it's interwoven through so much of the movie that I think it's just, I don't know. I have a degree in art history. I love Frida.
Yeah, art history.
Listen.
So Ernesto, his crimes are exposed to the audience when they are confronted.
Yeah.
Because
Okay, that's the only part of this movie that I really didn't care
really,
for. I didn't like that, the way that they did that. I felt like that was pretty contrived. You know, they basically started filming him as he was saying, as he was spouting off about how he took over, he took his music, and he's not the real singer, and he's not the real songwriter, and all of this kind of stuff. And I felt that, like, that was a little too, that felt contrived to me. I
could agree if the way it's all told out is a little more organic than that, because it's Miguel, yelling at him, saying all these things, and the cameras are there because it's his big show. It's not like the cameras just around, inorganically. It is there for his show.
I feel like that's a thing. That's a trope that I've seen before, though, and I don't love it. So I think that maybe that's part of it. I don't love it. I don't think I've loved it in any sense that it's been in. So
yeah,
like, okay, well, people need to find that out, or do they? I mean, does it matter now that?
Well, that's another thing. And the first time I watched it, I don't know if I fully liked what happens at the end with the reputations of Hector and De La Cruz and how it plays out. I don't know if I fully buy it. Second time watching it, because I would say you've seen this. This is your first time watching it. It's my second time. Yeah. I think the second time watching it, it makes a little more, I don't know if it makes more sense, but like I see it more because I already know what's happening and I'm able to kind of look at it more. But but the big thing is you see De La Cruz fucking throw Miguel over a cliff, like on the camera. Yeah. Like he's ruthless. Yeah. He won't just kill his best friend. He'll kill a child. Like,
right. And also, even if he's not doing it on camera, he's throwing him into the his crowd. Like, someone's gonna...
he throws him over a cliff. It falls not in the... I mean, the crowd is watching, but...
Oh, I feel like...
No, he almost plummets...
A cliff of what,
He's plummeting outside of the whole stadium.
Oh, I didn't get that feeling, but okay.
Yeah, because...
But if you saw it twice, I trust you.
Well, because at the very end, the lion bird creature swoops in and saves him, and he's about to hit the ground outside the whole thing. It's not like it's inside the Coliseum.
Oh, I just kind of felt like it was in the mosh pit.
No, there's no other people. It's on the outside. Because De La Cruz turns around and goes back into the stadium, because this is all like back behind the stage or whatever.
Yeah.
And he goes in, and they see the whole thing. They boo him. The creature saves Miguel, but he loses the picture of Hector. So Miguel gets sent back, no caveats, but without Hector's picture. So meanwhile, De La Cruz is getting booed by the dead. But Miguel in the real world, he runs home with the guitar he took from the mausoleum and tries to get to Mama Coco, who's clearly in poor health, not remembering anything.
She's declined.
And in order to help her remember, he plays Remember Me. And I continue to cry. I cry more, and I continue to cry, and then Mama Coco starts singing along, and then I cry more, and then at the end of the song, she opens up a little drawer next to her rocking chair, and there's all these poems and notes that Hector wrote her in real life, her dad, and you see the little corner picture of Hector. And the little corner that's been missing from the ofrenda this whole time, the little torn out piece, puts it together, puts it up on the ofrenda, and then I guess Mama Coco in her last year of life tells tales of her father. And because the song has triggered her memory and kept the memory of Hector just enough alive. And we get a flash 1 year later, like a nice a jump to 1 year later. Mama Coco has died. She gets put up on the ofrenda, but not before Hector could be remembered. And we get an awesome montage ending of Miguel playing the guitar while the dead family and the living family, not knowing each other is there, but kind of like intertwined.
They're having a little fiesta.
A little Day of the Dead, the next year fiesta. And I'm still crying. I'm crying everything from when he sings Remember Me to the grandma to the end. I am crying so much.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of crying.
I didn't cry that much the first time. This time I cried even more. So, I mean...
Yikes.
And I guess, I'll just say it right now, the feel and resonance for this movie is a 5 because I can't cry for half an hour in a movie that's an hour and 45 minutes and it's a kid's movie and not say that I don't feel and resonate with it so much, because I do. I love Hector.
It's an animated film. It's not a kid's movie. I mean, we got to get off of that right away. So.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it's direct. You have to say it's. I mean,
I know.
It's got obviously themes and things for adults, but it's a movie you can take kids to. It's a family movie. How about a family movie? You could say that. But I love Hector's arc, and I love Miguel and Hector's arcs are great, and I love that the Mama Imelda, the dead great grandmother, comes to peace and gets her husband, and everything's better. Like, I love how it's such an earned happy ending for everyone, except for Ernesto, which he is good
because he doesn't need that. Well, can we talk about how he also dies in the afterlife? As he is once again killed by a bell in the belfry, which I think is just amazing.
The cat sphinx throws him against the bell tower, and then the bell crushes him a second time. And
I guess as long as people still remember him, he's not really dead, but I choose to believe that.
Yeah, I'm thinking he's probably alive, but probably doesn't have his mansion anymore. He's probably in the desolate. We also get in the real world, because of all those poems and notes he sent back to his daughter. Hector is now recognized as the songwriter of all the songs, and he has a little not as gaudy and crazy big as Ernesto's was, but he has a modest little kind of museum to him that we see.
Right. Well, it's at the Rivera shoe shop.
Is that in front of the shoe shop? I thought it was just a separate.
It is. No, I think it is, because they showed, people were looking in and you could see the guitar and then all the little the poems surrounding the guitar, and the Riveras were shoemakers this whole time instead of being songwriters and singers, and I find that really interesting. You're talking about resonance and what's the thing?
Resonance and feel,
and feel, 100%. And I do have to bring some West Coast stuff into this, because the story, the fact that they're shoemakers, it might be lost on a lot of people, but growing up, I grew up in a town that had a lot of Mexican-American families, and I had a lot of Mexican-American friends. And there's this thing called La Chancla, which I don't know that I've talked to you about.
No, not familiar.
But it's the classic, watch out for abuela or your mom when she takes off her sandal.
Oh, yeah, they are always waving their sandals at people when they're threatening.
Oh, yeah. So it's called La Chancla, and no one wants to be around when that happens. And I saw that happen on the regular. And when there's a scene very early in the movie where the grandmother at Miguel's house is chasing him, with her shoe, and I am like, this is amazing. And it comes back several times during the movie. You probably didn't notice it, but it was something that I noticed a lot.
Imelda is always doing it too in the afterlife.
Yeah, and so it's just like, this is so that in itself, that with along with the papel picado, the paper cut
over the town and telling the story at the beginning.
Yeah, that was just like this is sending me back to my childhood, and not that it was ever illegal to sing in my town or whatever, but I went to places where I would hear mariachi music all the time, and it was just really, it was so true to life that for a movie about the Day of the Dead, it's kind of amazing. There's a point where somebody they're sitting there and they're eating street corn, and I'm like,
oh yeah, they do. The dead eat the street corn too. the one guy comes back in the stadium. What did I miss?
What did I miss? Exactly. And he's got two street corn in his hand. And I'm just like, yes, because that's what you would miss. That's what you would go. You would go get the street corn, and then you'd be like, okay, what happened? So, that was for feeling of this movie. It was 100% for me.
Another 5?
I would watch it again. Oh yeah, another 5. I mean, I think the feeling of the whole movie really, really, really resonated with me, and the story, and at the beginning, really halfway through, I was still like, I don't know if this should have been called Coco. But once you find out,
yeah,
that Coco's the
it's
thread.
earned by the end. It's I guess I don't even really think of the title at the beginning. That first hour, I'm just a little I'm enjoying it, but not to the degree as I'm used to with Pixar. And by the end, it's it's hitting it out of the park there. So we've discussed it all, and I think it's obvious. But Mama K, do you recommend Coco?
Oh yeah, you got to see Coco, and I'm thinking I have to see it again.
Yeah,
and you probably need to take the soundtrack from Apple Music or whatever you have, Amazon Music, anything, and it's just really good, and it's really heartwarming, and it's all about family.
Yeah, Coco is really good. Coco, I mean, even for a Pixar movie, it's really, really good. It's in the top half for me of Pixar movies I've seen, and it's stiff. I mean, it's stiff absolutely. Competition. I mean, you're looking at the Toy Story trilogy and Monsters Inc. and Finding Nemo and Bugs Life and the Cars movies. But like for the most part, Ratatouille, Up, whatever.
Yes,
you're looking at stiff competition, but Coco belongs. Coco is up there. It's a recommend for sure. I liked it.
I'm glad we did this.
I liked it even more the second time. Definitely rewatchability. And even though, like we said, that first hour isn't as good as the second 45 minutes, you watch it all, you appreciate that end even more. It really builds to that end, and
the first hour was still great for me. I don't
want to put it down too much because it's still good. It goes from good to excellent, or good to excellent. So 2 recommends, very very good.
High recommend.
High recommend.
Watch this movie.
While it's on Netflix, while you still can.
Right.
So coming up next week, we've got probably one more streaming review as well as Endgame. Yeah. Endgame's next week.
Yeah. So they had the red carpet last night.
Last night. So we're recording this Tuesday. Last night being Monday.
Yeah. So it would have been on the 22nd. They had the red carpet and. Wow.
Yeah, so it's available. It's already come out a few markets, but I think it's wide the night of the 25th, so Thursday, and then all day Friday, and obviously for the next 2 months. But we will be we're gonna probably watch it once or twice, give some time to digest, and then release it sometime next week, probably maybe next Monday or next Thursday. We haven't decided yet, just to give everyone time to watch it, maybe even watch it a second time if you're a big Marvel fan. So that'll be coming out next week, and then like I said in earlier shows, that kicks off our big May and June. I mean, we've definitely got more streaming reviews, but we have a ton of theatrical releases coming up, so look forward to those. Mama K, you have anything else to add before we sign off?
No, I'm just going to apologize in advance for the Marvel situation because I really don't know what's going to be like, and I'm hoping that I'm able to. Yeah.
I'll do our best to keep the show as on the rails as it can possibly be for a movie that culminates after, 22, 23 movies?
This is the 22nd movie, and this is going to be the thing. It's the end game.
It's the end game.
Yeah.
So if you want to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, it's much appreciated.
Leave us a review.
Yes, even if you just click the 5-star button, that's all it takes. I mean, you don't have
even
to
if you just want to talk Disney, I will totally respond to you.
Yeah, we are on Facebook at Films with the Woman in My Life. If you want to reach out to us, ask us any questions, watch or have us watch something that you want to see. I mean, we're open. Yeah. We've got some open slots coming up. So Films Woman Pod is on Twitter, and you can always reach out to me on Instagram. I am Brennan_pod host. Mama K, thank you so much for being on with me tonight.
Thank you.
And until next time, everyone, this is Brennan signing off saying enjoy your movies.
Thanks for listening to Films with the Women in My Life. If you enjoyed being a listener in our life, subscribe to us on iTunes. Please leave a review as it helps more people find the show. Like us on Facebook at Films with the Women in My Life, follow us on Twitter at FilmsWomenPod, and check out our website, filmswiththewomen.libsyn.com. That's filmswiththewomen.libsyn.com. Original music for the show was created by Ian Burke. Original artwork created by Nicole D'Alessio. This show is produced by Brennan Snyder. Thank you again for listening and enjoy your movies.